everybody, it's Teresa. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to make a necklace and a pair of earrings today using some of the contents from the most recent bargain bead box, the Summer Sunrise collection, and some beads from my stash. In case you're not familiar, Bargain Bead Box is a monthly subscription of beads and bindings. It's $19.49 a month, and that includes shipping in the United States. They have beautiful beads and bindings. It's always curated around a different theme each month. And if you're a subscriber to the Bargain Bead Box, you get a 30% off coupon to use in their sister store, Bead Box Bargains. And you can use it as many times as you want to during the month, and they already have great prices. I have a coupon code. It's Teresa2, and I'll put it on the screen here and in the description box below, along with a link to sign up for the box if you're interested. The coupon code will save you $2 off your first box if you sign up. In here I have the 10mm Crackle Agate round beads. They're dyed and heated, and the color is maroon. And here I have some 8mm red striped agate beads from my stash. And here I have some spacer beads. They're called pewter tie style faceted cube beads. They're 3x4mm, and I got these in a dollar bead box many years ago when I was subscribed to it and just never had used them. I've got a teardrop pendant here that I believe I got in a Sam's bead box when I was subscribed to it for a little while. And I have a pinch bail that I'm going to use because pinch bails make life so much easier. I'm not very good at wire wrapping, and I've had pinch bails. I've got a few I've had in my stash forever. I got some when I very first started beading, and then I got into bead weaving. And when you do bead weaving, most of the time you just make a bail out of seed beads. And so I just never had used any of them. I've got some bead caps from my stash. I've got some findings in here. I've got a lobster clasp. I've got a ball head pin and some extender chain. And one of the 8mm beads I'm going to hang off the extender chain as a dangle. I've got some chain from my stash. I've got some jump rings, 2 2x2 crimp tubes, and 2 wire guardians. And then here's what I'm going to use for my earrings. I've got 2 of the 10mm beads and 2 of the 8mm beads, some bead caps, a couple of eye pins, and a couple of ball head pins. And I forgot to get out any ear wires, so I've got to do that. I'm using my soft flex beading wire in fine. This is bronze color, but you can use whatever bead stringing wire you have, of course. I've got my bead stoppers. I've got my tweezer nose pliers, my chain nose pliers, and my round nose pliers. Got both pairs of my bent chain nose pliers. I've got both pairs of my crimping pliers. I use the Zero ones for crimping, and I use the bead-along ones, the little part at the end there, to tuck in the burrs when I cut off wire. I have both pairs of my cutters. I use one pair for bead stringing wire and the other pair for head pins and eye pins and craft wire. And I have my little New Orleans shot glass that I put my wires in when I cut him off. I just steamed him, so he's all fresh and ready to go. I think that's everything. I'll get out a couple of ear wires, which I should have already had out, and I'll pour out some of my beads, and then I'll be back. Okay, first I'm going to put my little bail on my pendant here. And this is just real easy, at least I hope it is. I haven't done this very often. All you do is, there's a little slit there in it, and I think I can open this with my fingers. Just gonna open it, see if it'll fit in there. I might have to use my pliers a little bit to open it. Try to pop my, I'm going to pop my teardrop bead in there, and then I'm just going to pinch it closed. Which I will probably have to use my pliers to do. Yeah, there we go. So now I've got my pendant on a little bell there, and I don't have to wire wrap it. And that's always good, because like I said, I'm not very good at wire wrapping these kind of things. As far as wire wrapping, about all I can do is wire wrap loops and simple loops. I'm not very good at much else when it comes to wire wrapping. So hold on, I'll get my beads poured out, and I'll be back. Okay, I've got my beads poured out here now, and I'm going to do some stringing. The rest of this is going to be stringing. Putting the bell on that pendant was the hardest part of this whole thing. So I'm going to start with one of my 8mm beads that I got out of my stash, and a spacer bead, and then a bead cap, and a 10mm bead, and a bead cap, and a spacer bead, and a bead cap, and a 10mm bead, and a bead cap, and a spacer bead, and a bead cap, and a 10mm bead, and a bead cap, and a spacer bead, and an 8mm bead, and a spacer bead, and a bead cap, and a 10mm bead, a bead cap, a 10mm bead without bead caps, and a bead cap, and a 10mm bead, a bead cap, and a spacer bead, and an 8mm bead, and a spacer bead, and a bead cap, and a 10mm bead, and a bead cap, and a spacer bead, and a bead cap, and a 10mm bead, and a bead cap, and a spacer bead, and a bead cap, and a 10mm bead, and a bead cap, oops, a spacer bead, an 8mm bead, now I'm going to thread on my pendant here, and I don't know if I said, I think this is carnelian, the stone is in this, but I thought it matched well enough with the agate. And I'm going to thread this on, and I know I need a spacer bead first. And then I'm going to thread this on, and I'm going to let that fall over that spacer bead there. Just hang out over top of that spacer bead. And now I'm going to do another 8mm bead, spacer bead, bead cap, 10mm bead, bead cap, spacer bead, bead cap, 10mm bead, bead cap, spacer bead, bead cap, 10mm bead, bead cap, spacer bead, 8mm bead, spacer bead, bead cap, $10mm bead, bead cap, $10mm bead without bead caps, bead cap, 10mm bead, bead cap, spacer bead, 8mm bead, spacer bead, bead cap, 10mm bead, bead cap, spacer bead, bead cap, 10mm bead, bead cap, spacer bead, bead cap, 10mm bead, bead cap, spacer bead, and 8mm bead. So there's my necklace. You zoom out a little here now. So there's my necklace. Now I'm going to get my crimp tubes out and crimp it. I'll hold on, I'll be back. Okay, I'm ready to crimp now. So I'm going to take my crimp tube and put it on here. My wire guardian. Go back down the other channel of the wire guardian. Back through the crimp tube. Make sure I hold my wires apart so they don't get crossed. I'm going to tuck in my little wire guardian here just a little bit. Hold my wires apart. I'm going to go in that part of the crimping pliers that has the tooth on one side. I'm going to lay the tooth on top. Straighten this up a little. Lay the tooth on top. Squeeze. That puts each little wire in its own little channel there. Now I'm going to go into there's 3 circular parts up here at the top, half circles on each side. I'm going to go into the middle one because that's the one for the 2x2 crimp tubes. Lay my crimp in there. Squeeze. Fold my crimp. Now I'm going to go up to the one for the 1 millimeter crimp tubes, and I'm going to squish again. Get a little tighter. Now I'm going to tug. That's good. So now I'm going to cut off my extra wire. And now I'm going to bring everything down and cut this off my spool. Now I'm going to take my other crimp tube, put it on here, my wire guardian, come down the other channel of my wire guardian. I think I've cut off too much wire this time. I'll have to save this extra for something else. I'm going to go through my crimp tube. And I try to go through a bead or two on this side to get my hands out of the way. Make sure my wires are not crossed and pull my wire through. Tuck in my little crimp tube there, my wire guardian. Now I want to make sure there's no slack in my piece, and especially with these bead caps I want to make sure they're all in place like they're supposed to be, and that my little focal is in place there like it's supposed to be. But I don't want to get it too tight, because if I get it too tight it won't drape well. So now I'm going to go into the part there with the tooth again. I'm going to lay the tooth on top, squeeze. Now I'm going to go into that middle part of the circular part again. Lay my crimp in there. Squeeze and fold my crimp. Well, I don't know, something happened that time. Let me see. Well, I know I crimped that, but it does not look like it's crimped. See if I can crimp it again. Okay. I don't know what happened there, but I'm going to try this again. Go into that second part, squeeze and fold my crimp, go down to the first part, squeeze, tug. Yeah, that's fine. I don't know what happened there. I thought I squished it with my little tooth, but I don't know, maybe I didn't. Now I'm going to cut off my extra wire. Okay, that's not really enough to do anything with, so I guess I'll just throw that away. So, There's my necklace. Let me get zoom back out here. So there's my necklace. So now I'm going to get my findings together and put my findings on. I'll be back. Okay, I've got my findings out here now. I've got a couple pieces of chain here. These are about 3 inches each. And I got a 6mm jump ring here. This one's already open. I must have tried to use it for something else at some point. I try not to open them and close them any more than I have to, because the more you open and close them, they'll get weak. So I'm going to put this side on here and one of my pieces of chain. I'm going to close my jump ring up. Try to get it closed up really well. Now I'm going to take another jump ring, 6mm jump ring. Open it up, put the other side on, and drop it. Wouldn't be a video of mine if I didn't drop something. Now I'm going to put my other piece of chain on. Close it up really well. Now I'm going to go down here. I'm going to take another 6mm jump ring. Open it up. Thread on this side of my chain. And my lobster clasp. Drop it again. Okay, hold on to it this time. Put my lobster clasp on. Close it up. Okay, now on this side I have an 8mm jump ring. Put this side of my... Drop that again. Telling y'all, just not got a good grip going on today. Now I want to put my extender chain on here. That's about 2 inches of extender chain. Okay, now so there's my necklace. So now I'm going to get my little bead that I'm going to hang off for a dangle. I'll be back. Okay, I've got a head pin here, and I've got one of my 8mm beads to hang off as a dangle. I don't usually use that big of a bead for a dangle, but it's the smallest bead in this necklace, unless I wanted to hang one of my spacers off the end, and I really didn't want to do that. So I'm going to put this on my head pin here. I take my pliers. I'm going to go to the tip of the pliers. Bend at a 90-degree angle over the pliers. Run those pliers in the crook of the bend. Run those pliers facing me. Bend the wire back until it hits the bead. Rotate the pliers till they're facing the table. Hold on tight. Take this part up and under here until it hits the tool, bottom of the tool. Cock the wire back until the loop is centered over the bead. Take my one pair of my bent chain nose pliers and pull this down until it's at a right angle to this. Now I'm going to take my other pair of bent chain nose pliers and start to wrap. Get that first wrap really good and tight. And I'm going to just wrap until there's no more room to wrap. I'm going to cut off my wire. I'm going to take these crimping pliers and tuck in the little burr that's left where I cut off my wire. And now I'm going to take the last link on this extender chain here, open it up, thread on my little dangle, close it back up. So there's my necklace. Now I'm going to get my stuff together and make a really simple little pair of earrings. Hold on. Okay, so I'm going to make just a really simple little pair of earrings here. I've got another head pin. Put on a bead cap. One of my 10mm beads. Another bead cap. Make another wire wrapped loop here. I'm going to take my pliers and go to the very tip of the pliers. Bend at a 90-degree angle over the pliers. Around those pliers and put them in the crook of the bend. Around those pliers facing me. Bend the wire back until it hits the bead. Rotate the pliers till they're facing the table. Hold on tight. Take this part up and up under here until it hits the bottom of the tool. Cock the wire back until the loop is centered over the bead. Take my bent chain nose pliers. Pull this wire down until it's at a right angle to this wire. Take my other bent chain nose pliers. Hold on tight and start to wrap. Get that first wrap good and tight. And just wrap till there's no more room to wrap. I'm going to take my cutters, cut off my extra wire. Take my crimping pliers and squish in a little burr. I'm going to take my eye pin here, open up the eye of the eye pin, thread on my dangle, close my eye pin back, make sure I close it back really good, and put one of my little 8mm beads on here, and I'm going to take my pliers and go just a little bit above the bead so that I don't crack my bead. Make a 90-degree bend. Now I'm going to cut off and leave about 1/4 of an inch of the pin here. Take my round nose pliers, go to the end. I didn't get a good flush cut on that. I think I'm gonna have to get some new cutters. Now I'm gonna go to the tip here and roll back a loop. sure to get it good and closed. Now I'm going to open it back up. Thread on my ear wire. And close it back. Try to get it closed back really well. So there's my little earring. So now I'm going to make another one off camera and then I'll be back. Okay, there we go. A necklace and pair of earrings made with the most recent Bargain Bead Box, the Summer Sunrise collection. Like I said, if you decide you want to subscribe to the box, that coupon code will save you $2 off your first box. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate those of you who have subscribed to my channel and watched my videos and liked and commented on my videos. I have a website where I sell my jewelry. It's Teresa's Handmade Jewelry, and I'll put a link to it in the description box below in case you're interested, along with a link to my Facebook and Instagram and my email. If you haven't, I'd really love it if you'd subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new video. So until next time, I hope you all have a great day. Take care.
Thank you.